The Rams made a trade, also a surprise cut made by the Rams. Today's 53-man roster day. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you want to support every single episode, hit the like button and drop a comment down below. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. Today, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, he's on vacation for this week, but we've got a jam-packed show, a surprise cut. I did not expect this guy to get cut. We'll talk about him. Also, the Rams make a trade, and we're talking more 53-man roster. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. It's Futures Day over at FanDuel. But okay, first let's get into the trade, then we'll talk about the surprise cut. So the Rams have sent backup lineman KT Leavon to the Cleveland Browns. So this is according to Ian Rappaport. Ian Rappaport tweeted out, Browns trade. Cleveland is trading with the Rams for offensive tackle KT Leavon and giving up a 7th in 2028, sources said. So the return is a 7th-round pick in the 2028 draft. The Rams, they picked up KT in the 7th round of the 2024 draft. He was coming out of college from Kansas State, and there was some versatility there. He could be a tackle. He could be on the interior of that offensive line. And since joining the Rams, he's mainly been a tackle on the left side. So the Rams do have DJ Humphries, who they picked up as a backup option for Alex Jackson. But based on people I've talked to, Alex Jackson is in a really good spot, and they feel very confident that he's going to be ready to roll when the season begins, and that they're managing the blood clots very well, and that the medicine has been working. And I look at this move, and is it something, nothing, or everything? Obviously, it's a 2028 pick, so it's nothing that significant. But he did have the second best PFF grade among all the Rams players during the preseason with an 84.4 PFF grade. He played 100% of his snaps at left tackle. Of course, you got to take PFF grades with a grain of salt, but also even more so in the preseason. So Alex Jackson, I mean, he's ready to roll. DJ Humphries in the mix. You also got David Questenberry, a veteran, and you also have Warren McClendon. A.J.R. Curry, I think, probably gets bounced from the roster when that 53-man roster is revealed. So nothing too significant here on that front. I think the biggest, most surprising news right now for the Rams is it's not official yet, but did the Rams cut Chris Paul? That is the buzz right now. And the reason for this is his dad, Coach Christopher Paul Sr., he responded to a tweet where it was a crying emoji, and the tweet that it was responding to is if he was cut for the team. And that was just kind of the rumor from that standpoint, is did he get cut from the team, and was that a response to that? Of course, this is kind of looking deep into it, but you look at Chris Paul, he's someone they were very high on as a high upside pick. He was a 5th-round rookie pick, and that's what makes this surprising. The Rams, they took him with the 172nd overall pick back in April. Very talented as a east and west laterally quick linebacker. And The tweet was from Draft Diamonds, who said, hearing Rams cut linebacker Pooh Paul, and then his dad responded to that with a crying emoji. Paul also posted on his Instagram Monday saying it was already written. So it's interesting to see what that meant. There was a picture of him, and it says it was already written, had LA fingers crossed and a palm tree. So we'll see if this is the case, but you guys know the way that you have to measure Rams preseason decisions, and that is through playing time. Pooh Paul was on the field for 75% of his snaps for the Rams on their final preseason game against the Browns. He was playing all the way deep into the fourth quarter. So players who have locked up a roster spot for the Rams, you're either sitting out the final preseason game or all three preseason games, or if you do start the final preseason game, you're going to play limited snaps, just like we saw with Terrence Ferguson and Jarquez Hunter. So it's the more you play, the more likely it is you probably did not make the team. Now, if Chris Paul was waived, I do expect the Rams to want to bring him back to the practice squad to give him more time to develop in this organization. But at that point, 31 other teams around the league could claim him, and he could be off the squad on a new team and a new organization. So if there was a team that wanted to pick him up on day 3 of the draft, they could swoop in now. And I would kind of expect that. There's definitely an upside play to him. Of course, we talked about his Winnie the Pooh chain and how cool that was, the pendant. But I think a lot of this has to do, too, with Sean Dolak. And Dolak's, hey, he made strides, and I think that this organization saw what he did in practice in the games. And, hey, I mean, that's kind of the beautiful thing about this Rams organization towards kind of the back end is you can certainly earn your way into this situation. And I think you look at kind of where the Rams are, I would just hope that they could develop him in-house, because the upside is definitely higher than it is with Troy Reeder. I've seen Chris Paul on the field and just kind of the athleticism that he does have. Go look at his highlights. Go look at what he's looked like in practice. And there's definitely something there that I would hate for the Rams to miss out on. But you can't you just have to hope that that this is the right decision. I mean, Troy Reeder isn't even going to start, so why are you going to even keep him? But he's not even great depth either, in my opinion. I mean, you got the special teams value that he does provide, but he definitely kind of struggles in that last season. He had just a lot of misplayed angles, bad angles on run plays. I was thinking that, it was a rough watch. Just kind of, I went back and I rewatched every single game, the all 22 of every single game of last season. And it's surprising that they would go that route. So, I mean, the truth is, though, at the end of the day, you have to trust the Rams. You have to trust their evaluation. You have to trust their assessment of him. And we'll see if this actually is the case. I mean, there's no official word that this has actually been the case, but I definitely make it my goal on this show to make sure you guys are as informed about the up-to-the-minute stuff. And later today, when anything drops officially, we're gonna go drop another episode on any type of surprises that we're seeing on the roster. So it's go time. It's go time. And there's always going to be surprises this time of year and cuts you don't like and these types of things. But the good news is, I mean, you're getting better news every day coming out of Rams camp, and Alec Jackson feeling as healthy as he is. That definitely is very, very, very promising. But all right, guys, coming up next, more 53-man roster talk. The season is almost here. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. This episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. Whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. The MVP, Lamar Jackson, is the favorite. I've got Josh Allen going back-to-back, a plus 600. I think Josh Allen still has another gear he can get to. Dude's ridiculously talented. Love to see Matthew Stafford. I mean, who knows? If he stays healthy, Rams going to run, you never know. I got the Rams, though, at a plus 2,000 to win the Super Bowl. It was the 8th best odds according to FanDuel. So definitely go over to FanDuel today. Visit the FanDuel app and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Also want to give a shout out to those every listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. If you're new to the show, we've got a lot of new viewers, a lot of new listeners lately. Join the Everyday Listeners Club. That's where you watch every single episode that we put out, and then you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Okay, here in our second segment, we're just going to bounce around some news and notes, things you have to know. Rams rookie Josiah Stewart is in concussion protocol after a, quote, little incident last week. Sean McVay said that the rookie is, quote, doing good and making good progress, which is definitely what you want to hear considering Week 1 is fast approaching, and he does have an opportunity to have an impact as a rookie. He's going to possibly be that third edge rusher behind Jared Verse and Byron Young. We'll see if Stewart's going to be ready to go for the season opener. He was in the protocol last week, so that would give him time to be ready to go before the Rams take on the Texans on September 7th. McVay said, quote, he's in the concussion protocol. He ended up having a little incident last week. Hopefully, we'll get him out of that. He's doing good and making good progress. So that's another guy that the Rams are hoping can emerge in year 1. He took him in the 3rd round out of Michigan, his 90th overall pick. They're very, very excited about him internally. I've heard a lot of people in the organization that were behind the move to get him feel like, okay, he's the guy that we hoped that he would be. And he not only brings a certain level of physicality, he plays with fire and intensity. That's what I heard. He's got great fire out there, and he shows it, and he plays with it. He did have a sack in the Rams preseason game, their debut against the Cowboys, but didn't play in the final 2 games. So that's all you need to know about how they feel about Josiah Stewart. Now, another quick, if you want a quickie on Matthew Stafford, he was taking 11 on 11 reps yesterday, so that's very, very promising. He's improving every single day. I think that all the naysayers and people that said that he was having a chronic back injury, he wasn't going to be ready to go, they're going to be proven wrong. He's going to start, and hopefully he'll play at his usual level of great play to elite level, depending on how he's feeling that day. And if he starts, I still think that you have to always kind of pay careful attention to a 37-year-old quarterback that's had injury issues. But hey, I mean, I my back's feeling better because of this. Okay, I gotta love it. I gotta love it, and I think that there's a bigger concern for Alec Jackson than there is for Matthew Stafford internally, and they feel good about both. So that kind of tells you where they're at. They played this thing right. They were very careful and cautious the entire time, and it's starting to pay dividends because guys are getting ready to go as the season is arriving. Now, he's also a full participant, and he's just moving. He's ready to roll. Now, other stuff I want to talk about is we talked about Josiah Stewart a couple of seconds ago, but another thing that you need to pay close attention to is the possible position change for Desan Johnson, because he played the entire final preseason game for the Rams at the edge rusher spot, and he's someone that could fill that Michael Hoyt role that he has left. Michael Hoyt now is on the Buffalo Bills, and I like Desan Johnson. I really, really do. I mean, he was making really good reads out there. He gets to the ball well. He doesn't have great length or speed for an edge rusher, but we're not talking about a second edge rusher, a lead edge rusher, but a fourth edge rusher and a guy that can use 3-tech and try to get down and try to get dirty with it. He does make some sense. Remember, Michael Hoyt was a very non-traditional edge rusher with his size, and he kind of changed his build into it. So I do look at this as a potential storyline just because he did play 54 snaps at edge rusher. And before that game, he had played 33 snaps where he had lined up outside of the tackles on 463 total plays. So only 7% of his plays came at that edge rusher alignment. And then in his last game, all of a sudden, it's boom, 54 snaps. So I think that there's something brewing there. And the reason why it's relevant is because it's just a shift for him, right? It's a new opportunity and a new role that he could carve out within this organization. Johnson, he's for sure going to make that 53-man roster at this point. He's been better than some of the other interior defensive linemen already. He's been better than Ty Hamilton and Larrell Murchison. And the Rams, I think, were looking at Johnson for an extended period against the Browns simply because they think that he can thrive in a new role. And I think that can also help him with some versatility, learning the role at multiple positions. So I do think when you look at where the Rams are at, that you have to still have a third edge rusher because Michael Hoyt is gone. And Hoyt, yes, he was bad when it came to coverage, especially against fast and shifty running backs and receivers. And yes, that frustrated Rams fans, but he was really good in the run game. He was really good as a situational pass rusher. And the Rams, they were using 3 edges when it was an obvious passing situation, and they were having a lot of success with that. So they're going to need someone in that role. That's why it's extremely important to find out who that guy is and if he can be effective there for the start of the season. And up until right now, it looked like Josiah Stewart or Nick Hampton, those were the locks to take on that responsibility. But Johnson now, he's kind of the wild card. He really is, and he kind of brings you a different dynamic there with his size, with where he started his career on the defensive side. So, I mean, I do kind of feel like, is this a Michael Hoyt 2.0 situation? It's possible. It really is. But the truth is, you want to get the most talented guys on the field that you think are going to help you every single down, every single snap, and that could be him. I mean, I rewatched the Browns game, just kind of looking at Johnson, and he had 5 pressures. That led the team. And you're already having success with limited experience in that role, but you're just kind of raw. I look at that as a positive. The fact that he's kind of raw at that position, but still having success, it's definitely something to build on. I mean, it's not perfect by any means. He had 2 missed tackles on 6 tries. He had a tackling grade at 27.8, so that's not good. But it's definitely something to think about. It really is definitely something to think about because those are the kind of the moves on the margins that often determine wins and losses in close games and throughout an entire season. I mean, the really good teams have talent at the top, but then they also have talent that you don't talk about much just because you are finding ways to max out guys at that spot. But we're going to also talk about some other guys the Rams could cut that would be surprises. We got more players on the bubble that we need to discuss. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. This episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner, and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. Everyone's researching, drafting, and building their championship squads. If you haven't joined a league yet, now's the time. and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran creating your millionth league. Yahoo Fantasy is loaded with fun ways to compete and brand new features that make the game even better. With season kickoff on September 4th, now is the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football, which offers so many fun ways to compete. Want more ways to play? Try the brand new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated weekly until one team is left standing. Want to play instantly with friends? Try the new Draft with Friends mode. Prefer the classics? Get your crew together and go head-to-head in a private league. No crew, no problem. Join a public league, the easiest way to play. The new NFL season kicks off on September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Okay, so who are some other players that could be released, that could be waived, that could be cut, that won't be on this 53-man roster? Well, now we've talked about some of these edge rushers and the possibilities. Nick Hampton. What does this mean for Nick Hampton? Because I don't think it would be necessarily the biggest news in the world. I don't think it would be a massive shocker. The truth is, he's been hurt for most of his career with the Rams. And when he's played, it's not like he's been great. He does have experience. He does know the system. He knows the organization. I think that's what he has in his favor. But other than that, there's really not much that you can point to with him that would say, oh, Nick Hampton is better than this guy. Nick Hampton has this over this guy. He's faster. He's stronger. He makes more plays. You just don't have that much of an argument just because you don't have that much of a track record of things you can point to that he's done to really earn that spot. I do think that he will ultimately make this cut, but he's someone that I don't think is 100%. I mean, like, there's guys that are 100%. He's not at 100%. Then we've already talked about Chris Paul Jr., Brennan Jackson. One guy I'm wondering is Kanata Mumfield is interesting to me. And you guys know I've been high on Kanata Mumfield for his upside, but go and rewatching that third preseason game against the Browns, he didn't look great. And Brendan Presley, he outperformed him during the preseason at times. You look at that wide receiver room, and there's a ton of talent, and I think it's close in those final spots. Did Presley earn a roster spot? You just go back and watch his play, his ability to get open, just kind of have that feel for the defense, use those hands, and kind of find those soft zones. I mean, he definitely has something there. Mumfield did look really good during training camp. He did make some really nice plays during the live game action in the practice sessions, but it didn't translate as much to the games. Now, I think what he has going for him is that he has what the Rams like for a receiver. He's tough. He can be physical. He can create some separation, and the Rams have been kind of high on him for a while. But I think that if you're going to just use the preseason games as a way to compare these two receivers, it's tough not to give the edge to Presley in this situation. It just kind of makes you wonder if they think to themselves, you know what, we like the upside of Mumfield and we still think we can develop him, or do they say, wow, we just Presley kind of proved us something we didn't see in him, and that happens sometimes in this organization as well. So, I mean, you look at all these guys' games, and there's a point where, hey, these guys are going to either make it or they're not. The reason isn't always just completely obvious, right? The cuts, the trades, the contracts, you just never know. I mean, and then this is a Rams team that has made a lot of moves that you're not necessarily understanding right when they make it, but you're also kind of looking at, I mean, sometimes these guys go to other organizations and you're kind of high on, and then they were kind kind of bounced, right? I mean, look at some of these other cuts around the league. Cam Akers, John Wolfer, Lance McCutcheon, Jake McQuaid, Bryce Perkins, Royce Freeman. All those guys were cut from their current team. So it happens. It does. It really does. But you've already kind of learned that some of these guys that we were thinking they are on the bubble are gone, like Brennan Jackson and Chris Paul Jr. hasn't been official, but pretty strong indication that he's gone. So, look, I mean, it's a good problem to have in the sense that when a guy's cut, it simply means that there was a guy that they felt was better for the overall team than they were. So, I mean, I feel good about this roster. I think it's a deeper roster than last season. I think it's the talent at the top is definitely better too. So we'll see what happens. Now, one thing I'm very excited to report and talk about is Emmanuel Forbes Jr. And we're going to talk about this more on tomorrow's show, is which Rams players have increased their stock the most during the preseason, during training camp. And you guys know that I bought all the stock on Emmanuel Forbes Island. I've always wanted a high upside cornerback, a game changer at that position. And with Forbes, he did suffer a hamstring injury early on during training camp that was a little concerning, but it didn't hurt his stock that much. He was back, and he's going to be on that 53-man roster. Sean McVay, he already confirmed it. He said, I really think our corner group as a whole is really deep. We've got what we look at as 4 starting corners. 4 starting corners is a positive thing for us with Akello, Kobe, Darius, and with Emmanuel Forbes. That's a real positive thing for us. So if you speak fluent Sean McVay like I do, Sean McVay, right? If you speak it, we've got we look at as 4 starting corners. That's a positive thing for us. Akello and Kobe with Darius and Emmanuel Forbes. That's a real positive thing for us. We think that those guys are going to be in there and making plays, and you like that and you feel that. So for him to drop his name in that sentence the way he did, that one makes you feel good about the fact that he's not worrying about a roster spot, but also not a depth piece, right? He's not saying, he's going to be a depth piece, right? No, he's saying that he could be a starter for this team. And I've heard that they really like him, that he's really taken to the coaching very, very well, that he continues to show that he really wants to be a part of this organization for a long time. And yeah, I mean, he's also high on Witherspoon too. I mean, Akello Witherspoon, I think, has had a really good training camp preseason. McVay said he's been great. He's so smart. He's such a conscientious player. I think even each of the last couple of years, he's a veteran presence. He's played a lot of football, but he's got this young energy. You can see a really competitive player, but he's a great communicator. I think having him around where he's got some wisdom, he's got a bunch of different experiences he's accumulated, but really as an understanding and an ownership and intent we're trying to get done, he's playing at a high level. So I think this could be a really good year for him as well, and I'm feeling better and better about this cornerback group because you got those 4 guys, and then that doesn't take into account that you got Quinn Lake as someone that is going to be their main slot defender. So that basically makes him a nickel corner and with dime packages as well. So I mean, Forbes, I don't think that he's the full-time guy right out of the gates, but if someone struggles, if there's an injury, I think that they're not going to wait to plug him in and give him an opportunity to see what he can do in that role. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Hit the like button. Drop a comment down below. Also, podcast listeners, write us a review and we'll read it on the show. But that's going to do it. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house is Locked On Rams house?